Hi, I'm Shannon, CEO of Opus Interactive, and I'm here today with John Nelson. And we are just giving a quick recap of the Best of Breed conference that we attended last month in Atlanta.
Hey guys,
Oh, so to get us started, let's both just give a one-word kind of highlight from the conference.
what's your one
Um,
word?
okay, I will give my one word. My one word will be automation. What's
Cool.
yours?
Mine was just wow.
Yay. So yeah, it was a super great conference. Opus has actually attended that for probably 4 years, and every year the content is phenomenal. This is actually the second year that the keynote was somebody who had come from the Office of Management and Budget at the agency level, and his kind of overview of what's happening in the space. What are some of those kind of bigger changes that are happening, and how are they impacting providers right now? Last year, he said he was kind of like comparing if this administration takes over, here's what that looks like. And then if this administration takes over, here's what that path ahead looks like. Surprisingly, they were both like quite similar. This year, his kind of he again addressed everybody, but what was kind of interesting was just the change that had happened was everything was continuing on with kind of his predictions for where everything would go. What did change was the fluctuating tariffs and how that has kind of impacted because
hmm
across the board we're seeing, where initially there was the thought where, okay, there's tariffs that are happening, that's going to mean this for my business, therefore I'm going to go and do a big push for automation, or I'm going to raise my prices, or I'm going to do what I need to do in order to be able to absorb whatever that tariff looked like. And one of the challenges that are kind of getting faced by providers is due to the fluctuation. It's kind of like you're not really sure which target you're aiming for. And so that was really interesting to not just hear his take on that, but then also some of the questions that were being asked by the audience members around that. So
Yeah, wasn't that cool? They allowed for Q&A during the sessions too. I thought that was awesome.
yeah, I thought there were just really, really great questions that kind of came out of that. A lot of people were kind of like, just asking like, what does the end in sight look like, and what's kind of next, right? And so I think that's why my one word was automation, just because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity because you're having to see where service providers are doing more with less. Budgets are staying the same, but costs are increasing, whether it be to the provider itself or to the customer, right? And so you're
hmm
wanting to make sure that you're looking out for your customer as much as possible, trying to plan ahead, trying to make sure that you are being as useful of a resource to your customer as you can be, because they're they're facing some challenges as well. So that was really interesting.
Yeah,
Automation.
as prices go up, I mean, who's eating those costs? The MSP, the end user. I mean, AI just drives innovation, and does the workforce get smaller at that point? Are you saving costs by headcount? I mean, it's all good conversations that we had, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was super great. So, and then kind of where that kind of led to and why we continue to attend is just that it's probably in all of the conferences I've attended for MSPs, this one is probably, it brings together the biggest audience of providers that are out there. And for Opus, that is a really good opportunity to make connections and, generate awareness for our own partner program. We
Mhm.
actually work with a number of MSPs throughout the United States, and just helping to augment their services. So it was really great. There were lots of amazing providers that were out there, and we had the opportunity to talk with a lot of really cool people. So that was great.
Yeah, MSPs are definitely the foot on the ground, and we love to work with MSPs and being almost an extension of their team. Yeah, I'll save a little bit that for later, right? But Shannon, one word for the conference was just wow. I was just super appreciative of the venue. I thought everything was laid out perfectly to have, one whole floor dedicated to the conference, right? So it's just easy to find, everything that you needed, where you needed to be, what time, just shout out to the planning team, really. I thought everything was laid out perfectly. I was busy from beginning to end. I didn't have any downtime, right? The only time I went back to my hotel was to sleep even. So it was just that much networking.
Yep.
Every single person at the venue, from the bellhops, the bartenders, front desk staff, waiters, cooks, just I really felt that Southern hospitality there at the venue. So that was a wow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, the venue was great. I definitely echo just like the networking opportunities were amazing. CRN, they're just, an amazing group of people.
Shout
And
out. Yep.
yeah, yeah. And the people that they bring in, not just great providers, but also just, great the CEO discussions that are out there, the
Mm.
people that they're choosing as panelists. Everybody offered a really unique perspective, and that was really truly valuable. So yeah, definitely great.
Yeah. Shannon, let's roll into highlights here. Kind of standout sessions. You just said it. Every CEO and executive, their interviews, they came to play. I took away something from every single keynote speaker and panel. Real quick, just shout out to the agenda. Like I said, it was back to back to back to back guest speakers. Always networking events during the breakfast and lunches, right? Luckily, I was able to connect on LinkedIn, just because I didn't bring enough, you know, uh, business cards to give out. I ran out, so I was connecting with people left and right on LinkedIn. It was
Yay.
awesome. So I got to meet professionals from Pax8, IBM, Zscaler, Enable, Brett Locker, Sophos, Sentinel One, Ingram Micro, Envault, Halo, Uvilla, and just so many more. Just shout out to those guys, right? That one. Yeah, just a quick story I wanted to share with you, Shannon. That so Ingram Micro was one of the guest speakers, and they had an unfortunate cyber incident in July. So I emailed the keynote speaker, CEO Paul Bay, just about his incident and things that I took away from his speech, and he actually emailed me back, and was we were able to kind of talk about his incident and how communication is really the front factor in handling a situation like that, not only to internal employees but to the customer base as well. So I thought that was really cool. Not only his stance on the unfortunate cyber incident that took place, but that he actually emailed me back. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think that is a yeah, I think that's fascinating. And kudos to him for his willingness to kind of share that story. I think it happens to pretty much everyone you're hearing, in the news right now, where big cloud providers are, having some pretty big blips that are happening. And they used to say a long time ago, it's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
And it really is about readiness and, making sure that you have all the tools in place and the plans in place, so that your team is able to respond quickly, to make sure that you're, doing what he did, which is, communicating internally, externally. It's a very, very high stress time. And so definitely, as prepared as you can possibly be, which it's probably like any other emergency, it all comes down to the level of preparedness. And because, at the end of the day, that's an exercise nobody wants to go through, because, there are really true people that are being impacted, and very, very, critical workloads that are going down, and businesses that are losing, revenue. And so definitely it's really wonderful that he was open to share that.
Yeah, take away DR plan. If you don't have one, get one. If you have one that you haven't reviewed in a while, please review it.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, that's very good takeaway. So I would say my highlight was probably kind of just going back to that automation component. There were a lot of ITSM platforms that have come a long, long way in a short amount of time. And really that just speaks to, everybody's really going in where it's hybrid and multi-cloud. There's no cloud that's the right cloud for everything.
Mhm.
It comes down to, a mix of public cloud and private cloud and all of the bells and whistles that you need in order to do those things. And with that is, it becomes more clouds, more endpoints, and that becomes challenging, not just to manage and monitor, but also just, really making sure that you have the analytics in place. If there's, continuous optimization that's happening, predictive analytics, there was a lot of work that's been put into platforms where you're seeing those components really helping for providers to really be able to do more with less. So that was pretty great.
Perfect. So you mentioned a little bit earlier in our discussion the Opus Partner Program. Take us through that a little bit.
It's really been valuable for Opus to be able to, attend CRN's conferences just because that really is the place, the hub where MSPs come together to, look at the new tools, to talk about who's doing what challenges, what opportunities are we seeing across the industry. For Opus, yeah, we definitely have been able to meet some pretty great MSPs. And then also be able to generate awareness for our own partner program that we have. We do have reseller and affiliates in that program. There's no there's no dollar amount
Yeah, there's no
that you have to be
minimums.
able to
Yep.
sell. All of those things. We do offer ability to white label.
Mhm.
And so at the end of the day, we know that MSPs are, they are their customers' most valuable asset, and they are that front line that's really
Mhm.
making that relationship, retaining that relationship. Our role in that process is to augment their service offering and, really come with what we have as, private cloud expertise, delivering those things, stitching together hybrid cloud solutions. That is an area where, a lot of people are expressing challenges with, establishing skill within their own organization. So really needing to have those partners that have that area of expertise to be able to help them, really do what they need to do in order to deliver their workloads where they need to be when they need to be there.
Mhm. Yeah, just my take. In my conversations with MSPs and partners, I just like to say, just rely on Opus Interactive as like an extension of your team, right? Treat your customers right, offer the right solution. That's kind of our MO. Do the right thing for the right reasons, right?
Yep.
I was just chatting with, Jack Myers from Convergent Networks about this not too long ago. He said, John, let me come see the data center. Let me make sure my customers are being taken care of, and the partner program will take care of itself. So that kind of stuck with me with my conversation with Jack. How about you?
Yeah, that's so great. I would say probably similar, just in that, like for me, it always goes back to the augmented services, right? Because a lot of times, people worry about, somebody coming in and taking over that customer relationship. And for
Hmm.
us, at the end of the day, that really isn't what we're trying to do. We're really just going, okay, like how can we help you deliver more for your customer? And how do we do that in a way that shows that we're as caring for what you're delivering as you are for your customer, right? And that really goes back to Opus's white glove offering, which, is SLAs, 100% uptime guarantees, our amazing services, 24/7, 15-minute response times, and all of that for, without a cost. Because at the end of the day, it really does come down to doing the right thing for the right reason, and making sure that, we are protecting our customers. And in that instance, the MSP is our customers.
Yeah, and my final thought on that is, as we do account reviews with that customer, the MSP is also invited so that they can hear, hey, is the customer up to, and hey, what other kind of services that can Opus, solutionize for them on behalf of the MSP, right?
Yep, definitely. Yeah.
Well, let's shift over to AI in the MSP space, right? So this one was interesting, and you alluded a little bit to it at the beginning of the meeting. But one thing that I took away is just, MSPs aren't taking into account how much power AI is using. So let's talk a little bit about power, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the average customer here at Opus is 1900 watts, right? A rough give or take. So an average AI customer that we're seeing come into the fold is between 8,000 to 10,000 watts. So that's about 5 times as much. It just depends on how much gear they're using, right? But as customers are acquiring servers that are capable of running GPUs for their AI tokens, we're only seeing servers get larger in terms of power consumption. They're using water cooled, self contained chassis, things like that. What is your take on AI in the MSP space?
So my take on AI in the MSP space was, to use your word, wow. So really, there were very little conversations that were happening at the conference that did not involve AI.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that popped out was, there's a lot of implementation. Pretty much everybody at this point is utilizing the chat versions, right? So ChatGPT and Grok.
Mm-hmm.
And that next step being kind of like, how do you utilize the agents? And the question of, how do you even go about building the agents? What are the considerations that you need to be thinking about, planning for all of those things? And the other component being, which cloud do you build those in, right? And more you're seeing where people are, it comes down to security compliance and the ability to control, right? And so a lot of that is being built on private cloud infrastructure, utilizing co-location services for your own equipment, that sort of thing. So really having and finding a partner, a data center partner that has low cost, reliable power is very, very important. But then also one that has the savviness that is already implementing those types of workloads that can walk you through. I actually was doing some research yesterday into the growth that Opus has for AI customers, and looking back through the past year, 25% of the new logos that we've brought on board are actually, they all have an AI component
Wow.
with them. So that was really an interesting, like, that's kind of cool. So everybody's doing it. And as an organization, for us, that was really important to make sure that, because we know our customers are looking for those solutions, that we're already, building out and thinking about ways that we can help deliver.
About well, let me ask you another rhetorical question. Is AI in a bubble, right? And this was one of the questions posed there, right? My key takeaway is no, it's not. That there's just so many things tied into AI now, right? With quantum computing was brought up at the conference as well, being 5 to 10 years away. It's only going to be adding to this AI conglomerate, right?
Yep.
What do you think?
I think similar with the dot-com bubble, right? A lot of people kind of compare growth of AI to dot-com. Yeah, there was a contraction that happened out of that. And at the end of the day, useful resources were what prevailed from that, right? And so I think you probably will have a very similar thing happen where there are AI use cases that are being implemented right now that actually won't be yielding the level of resourcefulness and usefulness that
Hmm.
enterprises and customers are looking for and people are looking for. Those you'll see go away. And people may be, pushing capital in those directions right now. But just like what happened with the .com and, all things that are new industries, there's a period of, expansion that happens where it's the cool new fun thing and everybody's doing it, and we're all trying to kind of see like where we fit into the space and how we utilize and how can we help to improve. But just like everything, some stuff is going to work and some stuff isn't, and this is just part of the growth of any new industry where we kind of go through that process and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of like my thought on that.
Okay. Yeah, that was my AI takeaway. What was yours from the conference?
Uh, yeah, I takeaway for me from the conference was mostly that everybody's talking about AI. And definitely it is vast, right? Like I think that while everybody's talking about AI, everybody's conversation about AI is coming from a different perspective. Whether it's like, how am I implementing it? How are my customers implementing it? What are the use cases that are already out there? What are the opportunities? What is vibe coding? How do I generate an agent? How do I do all these things in ways that are long-term affordable, right? And looking out for best interest of, yourself, your community, your business, and humanity as a whole. So I think that takeaway was AI, AI, AI.
Yep.
How
Yeah.
about you?
Gone are the days of coding without vibe coding, right? For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. It's just super interesting, and the other piece of that is, and maybe it kind of goes into the bubble piece, but it's like there are also some things that we're doing and everybody's just using AI for, right? Where it may end up that tokens cost more, and at some point, and therefore, when you might have used AI to generate an email, maybe you're going to think twice about that. The other piece is, just even like, I don't know about you, but like if you're using ChatGPT and then it gives you the answer, and the answer is like amazing, and you're like, yay, thank you. And then it goes away and generates a response back to your thank you, right? There are statistics out there for how much energy is being used just for the chat to go out and generate that response. And
Yep.
and so like little things like that will probably factor into utilization as we're moving forward, but we're really, really early in the game right now. So super, super, super exciting.
Yeah. Let's go into predictions, right? So my prediction for 2026 as we roll into the new year, right, is really the MSPs that are going to win here are the ones that can clearly show impact, not effort, right? Not just effort, anyways. So how can Opus Interactive, provide things like reduced ransomware recovery costs, improved employee productivity metrics, or verifiable carbon footprint reductions? These are all things that can help Opus win in 2026, right?
Mm-hmm,
What
mm-hmm.
is your bold prediction for 2026?
Full prediction for 2026. Hmm. When it comes to the winners, um, agility. Because we're in an interesting spot right now where, from the keynote across the board, it really is about there's mass adoption in response to what's happening, um, whether it be adoption of new technologies or change in geopolitical landscapes or, larger economic changes that are happening. And so at the end of the day, it really comes down to having the knowledge to understand when change is necessary and the expertise to be able to implement change very quickly in ways that, like you said, are useful, and give added value to customers, to your organization, all of those things. So, yeah.
It's well said.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
that was it from us today. You can
Yep.
visit us at opusinteractive.com for MSP resources, subscribe for more reviews, and thanks for joining. We'll talk next time.
I'll